A 76-million-year-old skeleton has been found in Utah, and it's a truly unprecedented discovery. There's just something about dinosaurs. While these enormous creatures may have been extinct for millions of years, they still manage to capture the imaginations of people all over the world. Perhaps it's this which makes the recent discovery in Utah so enthralling, above and beyond the scientific importance of the find. Scientists believe that dinosaurs first began walking the earth sometime around 235 million years ago in what's known as the Triassic period. Then, for almost 200 million years, they were the dominant creatures on the planet. Our current records show that there are at least 1,000 different species of the giant reptiles. People, meanwhile, first began finding dinosaur fossils in the 19th century. And since then, the giant beasts have constantly captured the public's imagination. Perhaps at least in part thanks to that. Furthermore, there's a significant stream of funding allocated to finding more remains, which in turn leads to even more exciting discoveries. Now, one of the most important sites in the United States for dinosaur discoveries lies in Utah. The area known as the Grand Staircase is in the south of the state. And while the first dinosaur skeletons were discovered here back in the 1880s, there are a number of reasons why the locale has become so important to paleontologists in more recent times. After the initial rush of discoveries, there wasn't much of a push to continue digging at the Grand Staircase. That all changed towards the end of the last century, however, thanks in part to a raft of new scientists eager to further their careers. And the geology of the area has given them ample opportunity to do just that. The Grand Staircase is essentially a series of layers of different kinds of rocks. These layers run out from the Grand Canyon in a series of steps, which give the area its name. Interestingly too, the rock formations are also of all different ages, and because of a quirk in Utah's climate, dinosaur remains are often found not far from ground level. In areas further south in the United States, a drier climate means that soil erosion is a lot slower. In areas to the north, on the other hand, a wet climate means more forests, and more forest means more roots and organisms in the soil, which can lead to fossils being wrecked. Those aren't problems that occur in southern Utah, though. While there is rainfall in southern Utah, it's nowhere near as strong as it is further north. That means erosion happens, which in turn helps to bring fossils to the surface. And yet the ground isn't wet enough for forests to take hold. Thanks to this near-perfect climate then, dinosaur remains are frequently discovered in the Grand Staircase area, and that's seen paleontologists flock to the region. However, perhaps the most alluring aspect of the Grand Staircase for more junior paleontologists is what it could mean for their careers. That's because there's a good chance that anything they do discover there is going to belong to a new species. Digging in rocks that have yet to be explored often means finding something new, and that's a huge draw for anyone wanting to make their name in the field. Interestingly though, it's not the newness of this latest discovery that makes it so astounding. The remains discovered recently in southern Utah belong to a species already known to experts. However, sometimes it's not the relevance of a given discovery, but rather the sheer size of it that's important. Teratophonius currii strode across the planet in the late Cretaceous period some 77 million years ago. It belongs to the same family of meat-eating dinosaurs as the world-famous Tyrannosaurus rex. But while the latter dinosaur is more well-known, the former has by far the more gruesome name. You see, Teratophonius currii's Latin name translates to monstrous murderer, and it's not hard to understand why paleontologists christened it so. While a fully grown Teratophonius has never been discovered, bones that once belonged to young adults have, and using these, scientists have suggested that the giant creature was 16 to 20 feet long and weighed nearly 1,500 pounds. While paleontologists first classified the dinosaur, they didn't have a lot to go on, mind you. A few pieces of fossilized bone have been discovered, but that was it. Now, though, something truly remarkable has been dug out of the ground in southern Utah. It's the most complete fossil of a member of the Tyrannosaur family ever found in the southwest of the United States. Scientists reckon that an incredible 3/4 of the dinosaur skeleton has been preserved. Moreover, the monumental find is likely to offer a unique glimpse into the history of the Tyrannosaurus that lived in what is now the southern United States. The finding of the bones is, however, only part of the story. Retrieving them was a major chapter in itself. The discovery was made back in 2015 by a paleontologist called Alan Titus, but it's taken almost 2 years for the fossil to be fully excavated. That's due in part to the location where the bones were discovered. It was by no means easy for the excavation team to get to the spot. Paleontologist Randall Ermis has described some of the difficulties that the team faced. Ermis is an associate professor at the University of Utah, as well as a curator at the National History Museum of Utah. And this is how he outlined the challenges. Many areas are so remote that often we need to have supplies dropped in and crews hike in, he said. In this case, everything that the paleontologists needed, they carried to the site. That included all of their tools, the plaster they needed to make the cast of the bones, and a good deal of water as well. For 3 weeks in May of 2017, they worked on the find. And then, after another 2 weeks of preparations later in the year, the Teratophonius was finally ready to be moved. The remains were subsequently taken by helicopter to the National History Museum of Utah. Ermis estimates that it took around 3,000 man-hours to get the dinosaur fossil remains ready and onto the chopper. But that's by no means the end of the story. There's still an awful lot of work to be done on the bones. At least another 10,000 hours are needed just to get the dinosaur ready for inspection. It's a long, painstaking process then, but the results could well give us a much better understanding of the southern Tyrannosaur species. We know that they were decidedly different from their northern cousins, and this huge find might help tell us why. More than that though, the new discovery further proves that southern Utah is an incredibly important part of the United States when it comes to understanding dinosaurs. The vast majority of species discovered there have, so far, been unique to the area. And while the exact nature of the new mysteries that the Teratophonius holds remains to be unseen, it's undoubtedly another fascinating find in a fascinating part of the world.